Chairman, I've had a chance to review the lengthy minutes from last meeting, and I make a motion for their approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I appreciate you reading that epistle the
Thank you.
last minutes.
Glad to do my duty.
Thank you. Okay, so first item on our agenda is to fill a vacancy on the Industrial Development Board and Health, Education, and Facilities Board. This is for a new member. We do have 2 applicants who are here this evening. We'd like to call on each of them to make a statement if they would like. First, we'd like to call on Tracy Binkley.
Hi. My name's Tracy Binkley. I had actually spoken at the previous meeting, my application for the Industrial Development Board, and this is my second go, so I won't try to repeat a lot of what I spoke about last time, but I live in Murfreesboro. Been here about 18 years. I have a small Morgan Stanley office in Thompson Lanes. Been with them about 8 or 9 years now. Been in the business, wealth management business about 20 years now. Prior to that, commercial lending with Bank of America. So very interested in the board as I read about what they've done. In my background in commercial lending, I worked with some boards in the past and just knew that that they work a lot of what's meaningful to me, and new businesses coming into the community. The way we attract and retain those businesses was really interesting to me, and I was hoping my background skill set might feed into that. I was also interested in an actual working board that can actually do make some real impact. Otherwise, I'm involved in a lot of different community things. I was a Leadership Rutherford graduate last year, along with Justin, in fact, and involved with the American Heart Association. I was Heart Ball Chair this year, and I'm involved in Greenhouse Ministry, new board member for them, and a number of other things, Boy Scouts. I've got mostly Boy Scouts. I've got 3 boys I chase around a lot. But I'm very interested, and I'm at a good point now where I do have time to devote to this also, which I think is worth saying, and I'm very interested in this. So with that, any questions for me?
Any questions from the committee?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Binkley. And next we have Mr. Justin Burris.
All right. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Mayor Burgess. And I can tell you, whoever you select tonight, you'll get a great member of the board, so I can definitely vouch for that. My name is Justin Burris. I'm a lifelong resident of Rutherford County. Just wanted to tell you about my experience in business development and finance. I've got quite a bit of experience promoting and assisting in the planned development of our industrial community. My qualifications include a master's level business degree and in 10 years of commercial finance and business development. In addition to that, I do have a decade of experience recruiting business and developing needs-based solutions and incentives for corporations and industry. My desire to serve on the Industrial Development Board, it stems from growing up here in Murfreesboro and seeing how the growth of our community can benefit family, friends, and the community as a whole. I feel that the business community does succeed, as does our community if it is done correctly. As you know, Rutherford County is located near I-24, a major thoroughfare. It is definitely ideally suited for manufacturing, distribution, in addition to corporate headquarters and office operations, both large and small. If appointed to this board, I will work cheerfully and efficiently with other members of the board and industry leaders. I thank you for your consideration in this important position.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burris.
Thank you. Any questions for me?
Thank you, sir. If there's no other questions, the chair will take a motion.
I move they both be nominated and we vote for one.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of that motion, say aye, please.
Aye.
Motion passes. So both candidates have been nominated, and we will vote for one. Call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson,
Mr. Binkley.
Commissioner McAdoo,
Mr. Burris.
Commissioner P,
Burris.
Commissioner Phillips,
Burris.
Commissioner Stevens,
Binkley.
Commissioner Turner,
Binkley.
Commissioner Gooch.
Mr. Binkley. Binkley's name will be submitted to the full county commission on the 16th. 6 o'clock. Mr. Burris, we really appreciate your interest and hope to see you back sometime.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is to review the Human Resource Department's budget, and we have Mrs. Stevenson here.
No. I will apologize in advance if I continue to cough. This weather has messed up my allergies and I can't quit coughing.
We'll just get on down the wild haze and
Get me some medicine. Turn this sideways. Okay. Oh, what was that?
Cough drop.
Oh, thank you. So on my budget this year, you will see the total request is $352,257, which is a little bit slightly less. From last year's about $1,500 less than last year's budget at $353,768. The things of significance to report on the budget is this current year we've had to do a budget amendment on the testing, evaluation, and testing. Unfortunately, we've had some turnover, and when you have the turnover with all the testing that we do, the physicals and everything that's related to that, it did increase our budget a little bit. So I've added some additional monies into the testing line to hopefully alleviate me from having to come back and ask for money mid-year next year. So that is a slight increase versus last year. And we have had an additional $1,000 increase in my office supplies line. I don't anticipate needing to use that, and obviously if I don't, I will, use it sparingly. But this year we had a situation that arose in your notebooks that we created. That was an additional expense that I had not anticipated, and so I don't want to be caught off guard like that. Luckily, through donations from other departments, they helped me with paper, so we were good. But if I don't use it, obviously I won't. I will make sure that I'm frugal with my usage. And the other line that went down, we had a couple lines that went down. Our other charges is used for our employee recognition event every year, and that's for the employees who reach a milestone anniversary, 5, 10, 15, 20, and we started doing that a few years ago. Well, it was five. This past year we celebrated our 5th year. And so that line is based on the number of people who will have a milestone anniversary. So that will be a few dollars less than last year. And the SHRM conference, which is the conference that I attend for my HR professional certification, is local in Nashville. So I will not be traveling, nor will I be staying at the Opry Lane Hotel. I will just travel back and forth every day and not have that hotel expense to the county. So that'll save us an additional $800. So that is my budget, and if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
So on any of those line items increase, what are the increases?
Okay, so the in-service training, which is line 196, is an increase of $250, and that is related to the SHRM conferences that we go to. I go to the conference, but I like to send the employees in my department to the monthly meetings, the MT SHRMs that are held at the Embassy Suites, just so that they can continue to grow. One of the ladies in my office is just newly graduated. Well, 2 of the ladies in my office are just newly graduated, and I want to make sure that they have some of that experience with other HR professionals. So that line is $250 more so that they can have some of the professional development. The other line, the dues and memberships, is $132 more, and that is for those ladies to have the membership because it's cheaper to go to each meeting if they're a member, and it also gives them some resources available to them if we're looking at laws or those type things. The evaluation and testing line is $6,000 more. Again, the state SHRM is $810 less because it's going to be local. That's the travel line. The NeoGov and the other contracted services is $170 less because as we continue to incorporate this, some of the services with the NeoGov will be less than it was before. So that's the system that we have, our online application system. The supplies line I mentioned was $1,000 more. The employee recognition was $1,050 less. which my budget this year for these items, these type items, non-salary related, is $5,000 more, which the major part of that is with the testing, because it's just that 6,000 more. So
Staffing, it's a 3-person department.
it is, we recently, last year in the budget year, we had that part-time position that we had used, and we did move that to full-time. I am sad to say that she is accepted. My brand new person is already accepted. She just started in end of August, and she's accepted a position across the hall from me for an increase in pay. So significant increase in pay versus what my admin position was. So I'm looking at doing something different with MTSU, and I've reached out to some of the professors at MTSU to try to work with some graduate students to help them develop. So while they're going to school full-time to get their master's, they can get some real business experience with those. So I'm hoping that works out, because based on, I mean, the position is a $24,000 a year position, and I need.
I've got some concerns about that. The concern is that it's going to happen.
Right.
You're going to bring in people and you're going to train them, and you're going to lose them in a year or 2 years. Unless there's some opportunity, I would encourage you to look at what it might take to build a career within Rutherford County instead of us doing all the training and losing those folks. So if it takes more money, it would serve the county a lot better to retain that training versus going through that curve every year or 2 or 3.
Yeah, about every 3 years I have 100% turnover in my department for promotions.
So I would encourage.
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick. Do you have the latitude to bring someone in with more education and experience instead of just at the entry level? Do you have the latitude to bring them in above that?
Yes, sir. If they have 5 years full-time experience credit, we offer that to all county employees coming in, just because we found that kind of, instead of them starting out, if somebody's been, you know, in HR or law enforcement or whatever it is, accounting, whatever the department is, if they've got extensive experience, we want to be able to utilize that and capture them. And you almost have to do that, because if you don't, you start everybody out at entry level and they've got 10 years experience, they're not likely to come. So yes, sir, to answer your question, yes.
Okay. Do you think that
It helps.
That's advantageous to hire insurance? You know, it's just. Do you need any more latitude?
Well, hopefully, you know, we have done
that's
it.
an open-ended question.
We have done a salary survey, which I've mentioned in public safety for anybody that's in that, and also in budget, we've mentioned it there as well. We do a salary survey about every year, and every other year we do an extensive one, and we've done that this year. I'm in the process. We've gotten all the data back, but I haven't gotten it all spreadsheeted yet, because that takes some time. And you know, we'll evaluate it from that. I mean, I want to be fair, and I want to do what's right by the taxpayers and also what's right by our employees, but definitely that has been done, and so we look to really evaluate that strongly. Public safety suffering, I've mentioned that in the public safety meetings and budget as well. As far as turnover, you know, it's hard for me to say. I've got my 3 little employees, and you know, yes, it's 100% turnover, but it's not the same number of people. I just know from my experiences, Commissioner Phillips just mentioned that that's just part of it, and it's just never, I won't say it hasn't bothered me, because obviously I put time and investment into my employees, but whenever they get the opportunity to advance, I'm excited for them, because I figure that I have somebody that I've built a rapport with in another organization that we can work and feed off each other, and it's been a really good relationship from that, but it does make it hard on me physically to keep up the pace. But our public safety departments are the ones that are struggling the most from turnover, and so we had already started the process with them to look at their pay.
It's tough being the training ground, not to be able to, the continuity of good employees that, you know, I can understand.
Well, I will just have to say God has blessed me with everybody that He's sent me. Has always been a good caliber person. And so I've been, I just have to say I've been blessed. So I can't really, I'm not going to complain about it. So.
I don't know if I've ever done this before, but I'm concerned that your budget is not enough, that you're to be commended. This type of thing is easy to approve, but I'm concerned that you're going to be understaffed and you're actually going to be overworked, and that the training, just the attention that you have to put into training, takes away from other responsibilities that you have, just in my mind. What would happen if we put the part-time personnel back in, and this could be someone that is leaving the workforce due to retirement or whatever that case may be, and that person could end up being long-term part-time employee that you wouldn't turn over all the time. I think you've been using it for younger folks, MTSU type of folks in the past, but just an alternative to that, if you had a part-time person who, once again, had a lot of experience and was retired and could be more stable, something like that to me would be.
Well, and I have considered that for the full-time position as well. For somebody who wanted to come in that was, just got tired of being at home and they wanted to give back. And what I did find is the individuals that applied for that really didn't want the full-time, that was like that. So I have looked to say, do I want the continuity of somebody who's here for X number of years that can, that can be here to help me out at a part-time level, even if it's 30. So I'm not saying I'm closed-minded to even doing that with the current position I have. I would never turn down a position, which sounds like what you're offering.
Let me make this suggestion. This budget is just something that it's hard to pick apart, but I would suggest that you consider something like that, adding that part-time. It's $10,000. Adding that part-time position back in, talking to the mayor about it, and see what his feelings are one way or the other. And if we adopt this budget tonight, maybe you can come back and try to adjust that budget and see what how this committee feels about it.
I appreciate that.
I, for one, the position that you have is going to get more and more difficult as the county gets bigger and bigger and bigger and the number of employees continue to grow. So, an additional part-time person, especially if it's someone that you could count on for several years anyway, would be, I think, a real asset, not only to you but to the county. And so anyway, that's all I've got.
You've almost embarrassed me. I feel my face getting. Wasn't expecting that. So thank you.
Are you making an amendment?
No, I'm not. I'd just like for this committee to kind of hold that open, and if we adopt the budget and she decides that it might be in the best interest of the county to come back and maybe we can adjust the budget. That's okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In that case, I would move that we adopt the recommended budget and forward it on to our budget committee.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Johnson. Are there any other questions or comments?
Have you already met with the mayor on this?
Yes, sir, I did.
And y'all are both in agreement on it, other than what we just discussed?
I think so. Aren't you? Okay.
On this position that she just lost, you see, that's the administrative position, the second. And she happens to have been able to choose a person that was really far beyond an administrative capable person. So she came with skills and education beyond what you typically would put in place for an administrative support person.
Is that the secretary position you said?
It's almost as though I was grateful last year to get the part-time position moved to full-time. So I don't really want to look like a gift horse in the mouth, I don't want to be disrespectful. Does that make sense? So I'm going to say something, and I'm trying not to be disrespectful about it, because that's how I asked for it. So I got what I asked for, and I got what I asked for, what I thought would work. So I'll just say that as well. I think it's like every other department, it gets down to pay. While they may come for 3 or 4 years, and I mean, I have like you know, as I mentioned before, I've been very, very blessed with the team that I've had my entire tenure here, and to be honest. That position, I think, had it been like an HR assistant instead of an admin support, one role. And really, it's just the position initiated just to answer the phones and just do basic stuff like prepping cases for me, because I handle a lot of them. Anything that deals with the legal matter, I handle a lot of that. Just helping me get that in order. And she's done all that, but if it was somebody that I didn't feel like I was taking advantage of, I mean, I've given her like a ton of work. So at some point you start saying, am I giving her more than what? And she's not complained, so I'm not saying she's complained, but I think that is, you know, an avenue that maybe that I may discuss with the mayor since I've been invited to return.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay, do we need to call a roll on this?
You can just do it.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks.
And lastly on our agenda is a broadband resolution. Is the mayor presenting that resolution? Or
It's on your iPad there, and I mean, I think most of you are already well aware of this, and it's something that our unincorporated area, especially in a few of the distant borders, need much improved access to. So I think all of you probably feel like this is a sort of a no-brainer, I hope.
There's, I think the mayor, the governor has, in his budget proposal, has set aside $45 million to expand broadband. That figure jumps out to me, if I'm not mistaken. And there's been some lobbying efforts that have gone on, also from what I understand, not to do this, because it could cost some of the providers some additional funds as time goes by. But we've got areas in our county, as big as our county is, that kids don't have access to the internet and have to go other places to get it. So it is needed, and I think all this resolution does is ask the Tennessee General Assembly to enact what the governor's asked for.
all right. Is that your motion to?
Let me look at this. Be it resolved. Blah, 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 blah. I think was it Health and Ed the other night, Mr. Mayor? The Health and Education Committee looked at this and decided to add, in addition to the General Assembly, to add our legislative delegation by name to this resolution. And that's what my motion is.
Okay.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any other items to be discussed?
This will come before the County Commission next week, next Thursday night. Becky, the new resolution will have the blanks filled in, and
Oh, sure.
the county legislative delegation listed by name, each individual there. I think there are some from that delegation that are very supportive of this, and then I think there's others that may be questioning it a little bit. So, and I think that's the reason that we would want their names added to it.
One of the primary things here is this would allow our local electrical utility, not just the electric, to expand and provide this service in these areas that don't have coverage. That's the issue that's a bit in opposition by some of our primary providers of these services.
Anything else for the committee?
I had one thing real quick, Mr. Chairman. I mentioned this to you earlier. I'm glad the mayor's here. Scott too, because I think Scott wrote about it. I wanted to commend Commissioner Phillips for at least bringing a part of the discussion related to the capital project plan that was presented by the school board, because I think it was north of something around $400 million. And all day I've been having a hard time wrapping my mind around that number. And I just wanted to at least encourage the steering committee and I know the mayor is doing some digging with Williamson County, if I understood you right, from requests about their impact fees and things like that, to really start thinking about that, because we talk about, you know, these things being in the future. You know, we've got a landfill issue we're going to have to deal about. We've got jail expansion. We've got school construction. To work together with the school board to try to figure something out, because that I'm very concerned about. I've got a note in to Ms. Nolan to understand a little bit better about what sort of property tax increase might be reflected from that type of money being needed to build new schools. And obviously there's a need related to growth, but I shared with Commissioner Phillips right when I walked in, I had a number of people reach out to me over the weekend that had never reached out to me before about any types of county issues, but they saw that sticker tag and got sticker shock. And we're like, there's no way we can do this. And I just encourage our committee, number one, but the commission as a whole, and I know the mayor's working on that, to really start trying to think about how do we address this in a more comprehensive way with the school board, other than the school board having to come to us to just say, here's the plan, you know, we need the money. And not that they would do that, but I want a better understanding from the school board as well about is everything being taken into consideration. Because if I'm not mistaken, and Commissioner Phillips, please correct me if I'm wrong, one of the conversations related to some of the core structure was about basketball. And that's very important in athletics. I mean, that got me into college and helped, you know, I love playing sports. But we've got to have a bigger conversation around what is going to work for us in the long term. So just, that's my 2 cents in 2 minutes. I certainly appreciate your time, but we've got some big things we've got to discuss with the school board that are going to require some very tough decisions and some opposition. But, you know, we need to work with them to make sure we're honoring, number one, the children we're trying to educate, but number two, the individuals that are helping to pay for those buildings. And I think we've still got a little ways to go there to do that.
Mr. Johnson.
One other thing about sticker shock, I was discussing with the mayor earlier, the new Rockville school, $58,700,000. That's a core school for 2,000 students. Brick and mortar alone, that equates to $29,350 per student when they walk in, not counting the $4 million operating. And we are mandated to educate the children in this community. So, I mean, that's not a wake-up call. Somebody's going to doze off one day and not realize the roses are.
Y'all didn't vote on the broadband thing.
We did. Okay, thank you for all the comments. Now we're going to vote on the broadband thing. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else we didn't vote on? Okay.
One more thing. There's been some print in the paper, and I see some representatives from the Rutherford Neighborhood Alliance here that have been looking into costs as it relates to our legal department and our county attorney. We had hours and hours and hours of discussion 6 years ago maybe about our own in-house department for legal services. And the county looked like it was going forward with it, and then we backed away from it. And if I'm not mistaken, this year is kind of the last year of that agreement, and then would have to renew it effective next year. Is that correct, Mayor Burgess?
Yes, sir.
Is now the time for us to at least look at the possibility of doing that again? And if not, I just think it's worthy of at least some discussion.
I think so too, and seeing all the members here, I would like maybe to suspend the rules and invite Ms. Allen up if she's interested for 5 minutes, just to kind of give us the information that they're concerned about, or anyone else from the group that might like to address this committee. Is there a...
I would make that in form of a motion if you want.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Allen, would you or someone else like to address our committee for a few minutes?
I can give it a shot.
I'm sure you can.
I appreciate all of you for taking our concerns seriously. And basically, I guess what we are concerned about is having a better understanding of what the costs are to the county now as compared to what it would cost for an in-house attorney. And we've been looking at this, since 2009. And but it's the cost and also the oversight that we think might be lacking. We're not aware if you have any oversight over the ongoing legal issues that are being handled by the county attorney. And I guess basically that's it. We are trying to have one-on-one meetings with you all and to find out what your thoughts are, and maybe we can work together to come to an understanding of what is best for the county taxpayer.
What, now we looked at this several years ago. Does anyone recall the reason it died, or?
The new group of commissioners that came in had enough votes to stop. We were actually it was in the budget for us to hire our own attorney. And that year, I think it was Commissioner Baum actually made the motion to retain Coates and his firm. So I mean, that's what stopped it. Full commission, before that group came on, had actually voted to hire a new attorney. And the mayor was implementing that in that year's budget when this occurred. So yes, the new group of commissioners that came in, I think there were about 6 or 7, were enough to, they had a different idea how they wanted to do things. And so that's why we didn't go ahead and hire an in-house attorney at that time. At least that's my opinion. I think if you go back and look at the meetings, you'll find it's pretty correct.
There was some more to that, what you brought up. But we had a big discussion over it, and we did some studies on the costs and studies on office and everything for this in-house attorney. And the commission decided to go with a deputy director, as I recall, instead of looking and going on with the in-house attorney. And that's how we came up with the deputy director position. And
I think we came up with that after the in-house attorney.
Right. And so we can pull up all those and readdress it again, but it was tied into that. We had a big discussion, and we ended up going with the deputy director position.
I've spent a little time in Mayor's office talking about this year and what will be happening this year. And I've worked with Josh McQuarrie for a number of years, especially through the Planning Commission, and so impressed with his ability. And I think the county's well served by someone like Josh representing the county. Now, I'm not sure that we could replace that with an in-house attorney. I'm not sure we could replace that experience. That is some concern for me, but I'm not sure that it would not at least, if we could discuss at some point in time this year what it would be to maybe staff an in-house attorney to take care of the things that the county attorney's office under contract is doing right now. You guys are probably as well, and I know Robert probably is even more than I am, that the number of actions that this county is facing it's staggering to me. And it was a real eye-opener to me. I knew we had some, but it just seems that it's exploding. And the amount of time and effort that the department puts in it it just amazes me. And the knowledge that Josh McCreary and his staff is really impressive to me. So I'd like for us just to put together some rough figures, and if we could ask the mayor's office to do that, put us and bring those back in like 3 or 4 months, about what we are paying and about what it would cost to staff a department under those same circumstances. The concerns that I would have would be that if we staff our own department, a lot of those suits, those legal proceedings are still going to have to be farmed out. And I'm not sure that there's savings there, and I think that's what we thought that there would be before, but I'm not sure that they're there now, and I think Robert probably has some concerns about that as well. But
well, the problem last time was the assumption that one attorney was going to handle everything, and there's just no way in the world that one attorney is going to be able to do all of this work. And Murfreesboro's got 5 or 6 on staff.
More than that.
7 maybe. But Nashville, I looked the other day, they have 32 attorneys in their legal departments. We're half their size, and you know, if we had 16 attorneys, can you imagine the salaries and benefits and paralegals and receptionists and office space? I mean, just for 5 or 6 attorneys, you're going to be at $1 million before you know it. And I think maybe a hybrid type of plan would be the way to go. We could bring someone in-house to do routine matters like prepare the documents for our meetings and attend our meetings and answer questions and so forth, but just one person is not going to be able to do everything. It's just not going to happen.
Yes.
I think one of the sticking points in your letter also was the overbilling of the attorneys filing some form that was beneficial to them and charging and just kind of adding to it every time they turned around. That was one of the sticking points that I saw, and especially the condemnation of the property, etc. for Hall's Hill Pike. You all are familiar with that, I'm sure.
Yep.
I sent an email to Josh McCreary and asked him to explain those things, but if you are trying to condemn properties and you've got 6 or 7 in a row and one person holds out and takes you to court and files appeals, I mean, you're going to run up legal fees. Even if the property's cheap or of little value, you've got to go through the process with them. So you might run up a big bill for a piece of property that's not worth anything. That might be the case. I asked him to give us an explanation of why the process for each of those parcels costs so much. But I think what we need to look at doing is bring in somebody that can do routine matters and advise all the departments, advise the boards and the commission, draft the documents for us, review contracts, and then have somebody on the outside that we could hire for litigation and pay them by the hour. I do think in our new contract we need to have more oversight over the budget. Maybe each month they send us a very detailed breakdown of what they've done and justify the time they've spent and send that to the budget committee or this committee. And then certainly in the new agreement we want to take away the veto power for the county attorney having the power to stop us from hiring someone else if we need to do that. But I think it's definitely worth a study, but I'm just very skeptical that a new government department's going to be able to do all of this and save us money. I think before you know it, it's going to run away and want more.
What you were saying about having an in-house attorney to take care of the general legal services is kind of what we were thinking. And then for the litigation, that in-house attorney could have oversight and make sure that those costs don't run away. So we were kind of on the same page there.
Mr. Lane's holding his hand up.
Hey, but yes, is it okay if I speak just for a moment? To Commissioner Stevens' comments about the combination stuff. We don't know what we don't know. How much do you guys know how the combination, the eminent domain thing works? Combination is just a part of it. And there's supposed to be, on the very get-go, an offer to whoever is out there. And then if that is rejected, you go to court. What I'm saying, we're still studying this. And I want to find out how many agreements they weren't agreed to the price they were offered. How many went to court? That's condemnation. Because when it goes to condemnation, that's when your litigation and your fees go out of the roof. So if somebody, there were people that had $600 little strip of land, and they were charged $7,000 or $8,000 legal fees to us. I mean, for a $600 piece of land, there's real problems with that, Mr. Stevens. That's what we're trying. We don't know what we don't know. And this is not about the firm, Josh, or Mr. Cope. Absolutely. This is about a systemic problem, about a system that has an innate quality built into it for the last 30 years of no oversight. That you guys have not been able to get the oversight that you need. This is about correcting that. And it's not about any firm or individual. These abuses could happen no matter who was there. Any attorney, any firm. Because even big outfits, the Fortune 500, they have auditors that come in from different firms, separately come in and audit to make sure that they're not getting overcharged. And if they're getting overcharged, they try to recoup that money. We found this discrepancy. We found it a long time ago, and it's kept building and building and building. We're trying, as the Rutherford Neighborhood Alliance, we're trying to give you guys the tools to make some decisions about this and the opportunity. Before, you didn't know. You didn't know this was happening. None of you did. Y'all had some suspicions, I'm sure. But now you know.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Mayor.
I just probably shouldn't say anything. I don't know that we know that there's been a single abuse.
Well, that's exactly right. We haven't got it.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think we should use that term in this week to determine the outcome. I live this stuff, folks, every single day. Not just some days a minute or two, some days hours. I was a part of this whole process 6 years ago, whatever that was. There wasn't even a contract then. There was not even an agreement. I think I was a fair part of getting an agreement that has this in two separate pieces. General Services Agreement. Now, you've mentioned those. Those are routine things that happen every day, just sort of guidance, resolutions, evaluating, giving Sonia advice, me advice, etc. Those are all contained in, quote, the budget for the county attorney. And that budget for the county attorney is very, very small. And we pay that person $72,000 a year to provide those services. We changed some things, even when we put that agreement in place. We changed the commission fees that get applied for the bad debt part of the process that takes part of it. That's something that's included there. We changed the reduction in the fees when we issue bonds. So we made some things. You approved that, and we got some things put in place that needed to be improved and changed. Now, past that, those things outside the General Services Agreement are simply those things that go through all this multitude of lawsuits that put us into the court. Now, we go back to these condemnations, in particular Halls Hill Pike, 106 parcels there. They all were appraised, and we offered every single one of those owners 10% more than the appraisal, hoping they would take our numbers. And a lot of them did take it. I don't know how many took it and didn't take it. But everyone that didn't take it put us into court at least once, and sometimes multiple times. So it's an elongated, protracted kind of process. And I can tell you what our attorneys, under this agreement that you have approved, it's gone up inflationary over the last 2 or 3 years. It's $167 something an hour for their legal defense of all these lawsuits. And I want to invite every single one of you, every commissioner, to come to my office, spend 5 minutes, and I want to show you the volume and the number of these lawsuits that we're defending. I mean, you will be shocked. I've had to use another office space system to store this stuff. Now, $167 an hour. Mr. Stevens knows better than I do. We were in a little bit of a mediation discussion the other day with an attorney from Nashville. He was charging his client, the person that has now filed a suit against us, $600 an hour. Typical stuff on the street, folks, in this kind of defense is $300 to $600 an hour. We're paying $167 an hour right now. Okay, so all of this is healthy discussion. I'm all for trying to help you understand or get some direction. But, and I invite the RENA people to come in one at a time, and I'll share some of this data with them. So, folks, and you've mentioned this, these are not the kind of cases that are out there on the streets. You just don't hire one or two people that have had any real experience dealing with the kind of government difficulties we're facing. So, first of all, just finding competent people to do this is going to be an extraordinarily difficult task. Excuse me for saying more than I didn't intend to say a word. I didn't know this discussion was coming forward.
Did I appreciate the information?
I'll hear from one more member of the Alliance. Yes, sir.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've already got an employee, an attorney. Saved you $2,000 a year. You're already paying him. He's an employee of the county. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. There you are. You've already got one. All you need is two more. I say you need to hire 3 attorneys full time. You pay one of them $100,000. He's the lead attorney. You pay the other two $80,000 a year, and they don't have any outside interest. Mr. Coates out there has outside interest, and he has to excuse himself. How many times? Oh, many times. But you talked about a while ago, nobody would take the money, the school property in Eagleville. He offered to settle for $100,000, 7 acres, I believe the property was. They thought that was a little too high, so the county takes eminent domain. You know what it cost you? You paid him $70,000 and some odd dollars, and you paid the attorney, Mr. Cope, $170-something thousand. Is that good arithmetic? Not from my Rockvale arithmetic that I come up with.
Thank you.
That was a decision the commission made
you
before
need
most
3
of us were
attorneys
even here.
Period.
Well,
And a secretary. You already have a secretary paid.
Respond to that. We're not going to find a single person to take over a legal department for $100,000 a year. Not unless
Oh,
everybody has
you don't. You put it out there, buddy, and they'll jump on you.
Okay,
Sorry, we don't know.
We're going to go back down to the committee. Okay, I really appreciate your comments, and I'm sure we're going to hear more. Thank you.
We'd probably get all of Mr. Cope's attorneys.
Okay, Pete.
One thing the mayor brought up was the amount of cases we've got. And at one time when I was on steering, I was asking for an updated list month by month to see exactly how many we have and how many we were getting marked off. And I'd like to start that again. If it'd be all right with this committee, just have that report come to us of how many outstanding suits are there. Don't have to name all of them, but you know, we know several of them. But one thing I do want to kick in on this is I too have a lot of admiration for Josh McQuarrie, and I know some of the suits that we've got out there, and I've mentioned this to people too, although I'm not happy with some of the financials that I'm seeing coming from this firm, our current attorneys. I do know that the liability that we've got out there is huge, and that we have to have competent people that can handle that. I mean, that's vital. That's not a question of, yeah, well, we can pick up Joe Blow off the street. We're going to have really competent people to handle cases like we've got going on right now. So this is not something none of us would take lightly. I know I certainly wouldn't. And, you know, we even looked at, you know, replacing what we've got now, I'd have to see a very strong, good alternative that we could drop in place. Otherwise, we'd be killing ourselves. Not, and I mean that literally. We would be financially killing ourselves. We can't do that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else for the committee?
Ms. Allen, do you have anything else?
Well, I'd just like to say I took the opportunity to call Mr. McCreary too, and we had a good discussion, and he said it's, you know, it's perfectly within your purview to, you know, look into this, and I assured him that we thought he was doing a fine job, and it wasn't about him, but we're interested in the costs, and we're going to continue to look into that and, you know, get your views, and so maybe we can come up with an answer. And I do appreciate the amount of litigation that's going on now. So I thank you all.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank all the members.
Did you want to do anything on this request for this list?
About the lawsuits.
Commissioner P asked for
A report next, Commissioner P, you're asking for a report next month, so.
Total number of lawsuits we have pending.
Okay, we don't need a motion, we just asked you. Okay. If there's nothing else, this meeting stands adjourned.